Hey everyone, time for another technique drum lesson. This time we're going to talk about how to develop triple strokes on our bass drum. And anytime I'm learning a new technique, as much as I want to just get power right from the get-go, I always strive to play as light as possible. And this is for two reasons. Number one is it forces me to rely completely on the technique rather than muscling everything out. Because once we understand the technique, then it's easier to add strength to it. And the second reason is this will give us a wider range of dynamics. Something that you'll hear me mention throughout this video is we want to learn to follow the momentum of the pedal. So let me give you an example of this. We're going to temporarily bring our foot down the pedal board, so my heel will actually be behind the heel plate. And we're going to start in a heel up position, and when I drop the leg, I'm going to lift my toes upward. And what you'll notice is the pedal board will be moving up and down, and the beater will be moving back and forth. So check this out. So you'll notice that the pedal board was actually bouncing up and down against the ball of my foot. So what we want to do now is, rather than holding the toes up in the air, is to lightly press downward. And what will happen at first, you might get too many bounces. You might get 4 or 5 bounces, but eventually you'll learn to control, so you get 3 every single time. So here's an example of that. So the next step would be to play this to a metronome, because if we have all the speed in the world but we can't play this steady, then we won't be able to use it in the music that we play. So rather than just turning the metronome to some random slow speed and forcing ourselves to play to it, what I like to do is just play and then turn my metronome up and down and just keep changing it until I find where it's almost like the metronome is following me. So after experimenting, this next example is at 104. So here's an example of that, and I'm going to keep time with my left foot so you can hear the pulse. If we want to get a little bit more speed out of this, I want to approach it the way I do my hands. For example, if I drop my stick lightly on the hi-hat, the bounces are sort of far further apart than they would be if I squeeze the stick a little bit like this. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing with my foot. Rather than just lightly dropping the leg, I'm just going to flex my thigh a little bit, and that makes the spaces between each note a little bit closer together. So here's an example of that. Alright, so now it's time to talk about developing power. If I were to continue to just drop the leg like I was doing, what will end up happening is it's going to be loud, less loud, and then really soft, and we don't want that. It's just like with the hands, when you get louder, we want to pull those notes. So what I'm doing here is a combination of 2 different types of double strokes. And when I play a double stroke, it's only one leg motion. Alright, so the first double stroke I'm going to start in the heel up position. I'm going to tap the toe and then drop the leg. So that looks and sounds like this. The second type of double will also start in the heel up position, but this time I'm going to drop the leg and then roll forward and tap the toe. So it's just the opposite of what we just did. So that looks like this. So the goal is to now combine these two techniques. We've got tap the toe, drop the leg, and we've got drop the leg, tap the toe. So the second note of the first double now becomes the first note of the second double. So here's an example. So what's happening in really slow motion is I'm going to tap the toe, and drop the leg, and then tap the toe on the way up. Tap, drop, tap. By this point, we should be pretty comfortable with how to follow the momentum of the pedal, so you'll notice that my foot is not nearly as far down the pedal board. It's just in my natural playing position. So far, we focused on one rhythm throughout this lesson, which is 1E and, 2E and, 3E and, 4E and 1. There's 3 other variations that I highly recommend to practice. So the second one would be 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1. The third would be 1E, a 2E, a 3E, a 4E, a 1. And finally we would have 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1. Alright, so I'll leave you with 4 grooves that will cover all 4 of these different variations.